Hi, my name is Sindhura. I was born in India. I grew up in Japan during my early childhood and then moved later to Houston, Texas. It's where I earned my bachelor's degree in psychology. And I think, like just growing up across like so many different countries has really given me a deeper appreciation for diversity and taught me that, there's always more than one way to look at the world, right? Um, Something else about me, I've always been really curious about finding ways to connect with different people, even if they're from different backgrounds and different cultures. Because growing up at such young age, in like completely new, um, you know, country, just kind of made me realize how much easier it is to adapt if you have an open mind and if you are welcome and open to their cultures and their traditions. Okay, let's see. I am currently working on my master's at Yorkville University, and I'm interning at LWG, which I'm very excited about. Um, what else? I would say I am warm, curious, and compassionate. I try to bring these qualities into my personal life as well as, outside when I'm dealing with others or stuff like that. I would also say that I'm spiritual mostly, and I enjoy different going to different places of worship, whether that may be like a Buddhist temple, a mosque, a synagogue, a church. I find that um, going to those places also helps you connect really with different backgrounds and cultures. So that's something I carry with myself. Okay. So in my free time, I really enjoy traveling, working on, meditation practices, doing yoga. I love to read and journaling. That kind of helps me stay grounded. And also I love food, so I'm always ready to go try out a new restaurant. And I consider myself a little bit of a free spirit. So if I have a couple of days off, if it's a 3-day weekend and I have a friend living a couple of hours or we want to take a road trip or a quick plane ride somewhere, I am ready to go. I do feel, just traveling in itself is a form of self-care and also just being out in the nature. Like I'm from Texas. I grew up there mostly my life, and it's really flat. We don't have mountains, we don't have trees, any sort of that thing. So I remember the first time I went to Seattle and I went on a hike and we were in the middle of all these hundreds of years like old trees, and just being there, like they felt, so tall and so powerful. And it's like they have witnessed so much over time. And just being in that space really helped me like release emotions and it made me feel deeply grounded. Like I can't explain the kind of peace that brings to me. And I really, yeah. And of course, my dog, one of my favorite parts of my life. I'm currently in Maryland, so I had to leave him back in Houston, but he's getting taken care of really well by my parents, friends, and all that. But yeah, I mean, whether it's just sitting on the couch, taking time for myself, reading a book, journaling, sometimes I just sit in silence. I like to reflect. Or, we can have a whole fun day of being out and getting my nails done, going to concerts. So I'm really, yeah, I enjoy a lot of different things and I try to, bring them into my life when I can because I really do believe like, when you have the time to do something, just go ahead and do it because we don't know if we're going to have the same opportunity or time, and when we're going to have that. Right. So, yeah. Okay, that's a really good question. So, I would say I've always been more of an observer, and since I left India at such a young age, it's my mom and me. So she's a single mother, so she worked a lot, and I had a lot of time to just reflect. And at that age, I didn't know like what things meant and how to connect the dots and stuff. But I've always wondered since I was little, like I don't know, I have this like curiosity about people, like why do they make the choices they do? What fuels their actions? Like and how the way they think and feel shapes the way they live. And honestly, what really drew me to counseling was when I moved to the States from Japan. I had No, sorry. When I first moved to Japan, I had firsthand experiences seeing people from like different backgrounds, speaking different languages, living in such like different circumstances, yet like still finding a way to connect and sharing familiar emotions, right? Like that really kind of sparked my curiosity about what really connects us all at a deeper level. And that's how it began. And then later, when I moved to the States, I was, it was a big culture shock for me, and I didn't know if I belonged. I was really introverted. I was shy. And, adjusting to a new environment in middle school was not easy. I mean, because kids that age, we don't know how to show empathy or understanding, right? So, but what really helps me there was a school counselor, and having somebody like just listen to me and giving me the time I needed to say things, because I wasn't open to opening up to her. Because also coming from India, mental health is almost looked at like a mental illness, like people back then were definitely not familiar with what counseling is, what therapy is. And even now till today, like I'm from South India, and I think recently these days they're coming up with, counseling and therapists, seeing somebody for your mental well-being. But back in the day, that was just, oh, what's wrong with you? Do you have like some mental issues? So just my counselor, her talking to her just made me realize like I have more strength within me than I thought. And if I have the right support system, like I can, shine brighter than I ever have, kind of thing. So it's, and then over time also it's kind of helped me look at like life challenges. It's not something that's always like there to work against us, right? Like if you really look at it, it really shapes us, and it even works for us. It's literally the shift in perspective. And for me, counseling is really about, helping people discover that same strength that I had within me that I didn't believe that I had, and, helping them support move forward, because I really do believe like through life experiences, through what we've been through, all the hard challenges, like all the breakdowns, all everything, we already have the wisdom and the consciousness within us to open it up. So yeah. Say I have like one strict preference on that. Like I do find myself especially drawn towards working with teens, young adults, and adults, who are navigating life transitions, self-esteem issues, anxiety, low moods, depression, grief. I also feel a more natural connection towards the multicultural clients, or as people that are going through self-identity, belonging, or just cultural adjustment issues. That being said, I am open to working with many people from different demographics, right? Like I'm still a learning student, and if at any point I feel that this is not the best fit for them, like if I'm not the best fit for them as a counselor, if I'm not able to provide the kind of support they need, I'll be honest about that, and help them connect with a therapist who's more qualified. But at the end of the day, I really do think the person you choose as your therapist really matters, because I've had so many friends where they start therapy 3, 4 weeks into it. They're telling me, hey, I don't think my therapist really understands me. Like, yeah, she's the same age, she comes from the same cultural background, but I'm still not feeling that connection. And, I do tell them, right, like it's not always about like, going to your specific background or the specific age to find the right therapist. Go give them a try and see if they're able to connect with you on that deeper level. And there's always room to make progress. Okay, so I would say my approach is really integrative, which really simply means that I draw from different therapies, different modalities, depending on what's most helpful for the client. Some of the approaches I resonate with is cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, where we work on identifying automatic negative thoughts, and essentially retraining your brain to notice and shift those thoughts, those unhelpful thoughts, into more balanced and realistic perspectives. I also draw from solution focused. I think this really highlights the strengths that the client already has and they carry, And sometimes there's so much going on in our worlds, we forget what we're capable of. So solution focused therapy really brings that out. I also really connect with mindfulness based and compassion based approaches, because again, we go through a lot and sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. How do we show up for ourselves? And I think it's really important to practice compassion towards yourself. I also try to incorporate some somatic body work. So if we really pay close attention to our bodies while we're going through these emotions, even before they come out of your mouth, you feel it in your body. And most of us don't even recognize that, and that builds over time, right? So just using things like grounding techniques, breath work, body scans, all these helps calm your nervous system down. And that mind and body connection is very powerful. And also, something else I'm working on learning is ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, where like you have difficulty accepting those emotions, but you end up accepting those emotions while you move forward with your values, like what still matters to you, right? And there's IFS, internal family systems. That's really interesting to me, because I think pretty much everybody can connect with it, right? It's pretty much all these different parts of ourself, and we explore them with curiosity and compassion. Yeah, so I'm excited about the last two, working on those. And I would say, though, at the core, I'm person-centered. I think, every client has their own strengths within them, and my role here, like as their therapist, is helping them uncover that. Okay, that's a really good question, actually. I think I would really just start by asking what matters to the client. Their culture, their how they identify themselves, their faith, their family roles, and then I try to adapt to that. And also, because I myself have been raised in like 3 different countries, I really understand how important it is to tailor to each specific client's background. I know that everyone's story is shaped, from where they come from, their values, their tradition, how their upbringing was. So I don't ever assume I already know something. Even if I think I know it, I want to know what it means for you. So instead of approaching it with, guesses, I tend to ask more questions and be more curious. And I try to listen to what matters the most to you, like what you need most. And then I take my time to familiar myself with their culture. It can be done through conversations, reflections, reading, showing up at different cuisines, going to, worship places. And if I ever come across something that I'm not familiar with, then I just ask than rather make assumptions. I don't think success looks the same for every client, right? I believe it's client defined, really. Sometimes it just looks like less anxiety, sometimes it's being able to set a boundary. Other times it's simply having space where you feel like you're really being heard and seen. I think mainly for me, success is when a client starts to feel more confident in themselves, right? Like more equipped to handle things no matter what life throws at them. And I realized over time it's not always big breakthroughs, right? A lot of times it's just those little steps that start adding up. So when I see the client actually show up for themselves, and when they start using, these techniques that we've learned, and then there's a moment of breakthrough for them, or a shift in their perspective, or even if they just notice themselves calmer than they were before coming, and that right there for me is success, right? And therapy isn't really always linear, right? Like it's the small steps towards meaningful life. Um, so I think it's very client dependent, and success can come in many forms. It's just how you view it. If you consider a small success a success, that will eventually add up, right? Like it becomes, I believe the bigger picture has lots of different steps. So each step's a success. And if they're feeling good, and if they feel like when they walk out of this room, they're able to handle other life challenges without me being there, without me talking to them about it or through it, that right there is success too. What I enjoy the most about working in a mental health field is that I'm able to connect with people and I'm able to help them see different perspective. And I really do believe it comes down to perspective and that shift in the mindset. And I there's a lot of ways to look at the same problem. If we're in a confined space, like in our mind, there's only one way you're looking at it. But when I'm able to help other people see different outcomes, like different ways to reach their goal, that gives me a lot of fulfillment. And just like it keeps me motivated seeing how clients really show up for themselves, like even when it feels hard, when it feels unbearable, they show up in front of me, and it honors me in a way to be able to walk alongside with them and help them through um, their life transitions. I think I've always been somebody that wants to help the world, help people, and I know most of us want that, but it's hard to find a way that you can best deliver it, right? What are your strengths? And then I found that, being able to talk to people, being able to relate with people, being able to really understand where they're coming from, their perspectives, and with them trusting me enough to share it with me, I find a lot of fulfillment and enjoyment in that. What really keeps me motivated are the clients, just seeing the courage in them, showing up even when it feels heavy, when it feels dark. That gives me a sense of fulfillment because they are choosing to trust me and to open up to me, as well as taking care of yourself really matters. How you show up for myself as being a therapist to them. So I really do focus on self-care, which come in many forms. I'm into yoga, I meditate a lot, I go on hikes, if it's just a spa day or, I need a massage. Like if I have free time and I'm feeling not completely myself, I'm on my phone or my iPad looking at how I can make myself feel better. And there's a lot of self-reflection in there as well, and compassion. What I think makes me really stand out as a therapist is the way I approach people and the challenges they're going through. When I sit with someone, I'm not just there to listen to their words, but I'm also paying full attention to how they're showing up, which includes, the tone of your voice, the expressions on your face, your body language, and even the little things that you can't put into words. It's picking up on those cues. And I meet them with curiosity, and there's no judgment ever. And it's just, I'm there to really understand what their experience felt like for them. Um, Also, another thing is I don't look at problems as something that needs to be fixed or one-sided. I see them as something that we can explore together from different angles, and again, often, shift in perspective. It makes things feel a lot less overwhelming and heavy. So for me, it's really about working with clients collaboratively and walking with them, helping, uncover their own strengths and resilience they've been carrying all along the way, and just supporting them as they move forward with their life and goals. While I was looking for practicum placements, I researched a lot of different wellness groups. And with Lordy Wellness, one of the first things I noticed even before my interview was that they have outreach programs across different parts of the world, which really caught my attention because that's something I've always wanted to do, like not just help people here in the States and Canada, but especially third world countries like India, Ghana, Nigeria, Puerto Rico. Like I have never seen that any other therapy group. So that really just right when I saw that, I was like, okay, you know what? This aligns so perfectly with what I want to do in my future, and where I am right now. So that really opened that up for me. When I saw that, I was like, okay, applications going in. And I was so surprised because you don't know, what kind of people you're going to work with or how the leader is. So when I met with the team, I was even more joyed. Like I was just up there, and I felt they just had so much compassion, understanding, and the way they just treat you and the way they valued me really just, made me not even just think, I knew this was the right place for me.